Imagine, you're at a party, laughing with friends, when your wife, Emily, stands up and says, "Jake, we've had enough. Get out." In front of everyone. Her cold stare and mocking smile cut like a knife, and another man is sitting next to her, clearly in on her plan. Everyone looks at Jake, humiliated, but this is only the beginning. The next day, he learns the truth, which is worse than betrayal. Find out how Jake exposes her game and regains control. The clatter of a wine glass hitting the table sliced through the chatter of the packed Seattle restaurant. Jake, a 32-year-old graphic designer, froze mid-sentence, his joke about a client's logo dying on his lips. Across the table, his wife Emily stood, her posture rigid, her voice sharp enough to halt every conversation in the room. "Jake, we're done. Get out. Now." Her words landed like a slap, cold and deliberate, her lips curling into a faint, mocking smile. The engagement party for their friend Sarah, held in a bustling downtown bistro, turned silent. Forks paused midair. A couple nearby shifted in their seats, eyes darting. Jake's pulse surged, his throat tightening as he scanned the faces around him, some shocked, others avoiding his gaze. Next to Emily sat Ethan, a tech consultant with a reputation for closing deals and breaking boundaries, his smirk barely concealed as he leaned back in his chair. Jake's mind scrambled for a response, but his voice betrayed him, cracking before a single word formed. The weight of 30 pairs of eyes pressed into him, amplifying the heat rising in his cheeks. Emily tilted her head, her expression impatient, as if he were a child wasting her time. He caught Ethan's glance, a quick, knowing flicker that sent a jolt of anger through Jake's veins. His hands clenched under the table, knuckles whitening, but he couldn't find the words to fight back. Instead, he stood, his chair scraping loudly against the hardwood floor, the sound echoing like a spotlight pinning him in place. Gripping the car keys in his pocket until they dug in his palm, he walked out, each step heavier than the last. The restaurant door swung shut behind him, muffling the whispers that erupted in his wake. Outside, the cool Seattle night hit him like a splash of water, but it did nothing to clear the fog in his head. He slid into his car, the engine humming to life as he sat motionless, replaying Emily's words. They weren't just a breakup. They felt rehearsed, staged for maximum damage. He'd always been the reliable one, the guy who'd drop everything to help a friend move or stay late tweaking a design for a coworker. Emily knew that. She'd seen him spend hours perfecting a logo for her own consulting pitch last month. Yet tonight, she tore him down in front of everyone. Why? His phone buzzed, snapping him out of the spiral. A text from an unknown number. "Stop digging, Jake. It won't help." His stomach twisted. He hadn't even started looking, but someone already wanted him to back off. He drove home, the city lights blurring past, his grip tight on the wheel. Their apartment in Capitol Hill was dark when he arrived, the silence heavier than usual. Emily's side of the bed was untouched, her usual stack of books undisturbed on the nightstand. He checked the guest room, empty, the bed perfectly made. His heart pounded as he opened her laptop, left on the kitchen counter, the screen still glowing. She hadn't logged out, a rare oversight for someone so meticulous. His fingers hesitated over the keyboard, guilt prickling at the invasion, but the anonymous text pushed him forward. He clicked through folders, expecting work files or emails, until he found one labeled taxes. Inside were no receipts or forms, just bank statements listing his accounts, property records for their home, and a draft divorce petition. His name was bolded at the top, but the terms were brutal. Emily claimed the house, most of his savings, even the lakeside cabin his late father left him. Handwritten notes in the margins mentioned Ethan and asset transfer. Jake's breath caught. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment fight. It was a calculated plan to strip him bare. His phone buzzed again, another text from the same number. "You're only making it worse." Rage flared, but fear crept in too. Who was watching him? He slammed the laptop shut, his hands shaking as he paced the kitchen. The public humiliation at the restaurant wasn't just about ending their marriage. It was a performance to paint him as the one who walked away. Emily had set the stage, and Ethan was her co-star. But why go this far? He thought of the cabin, the one place he'd always retreated to when life got heavy, and the idea of losing it made his chest ache. He couldn't let her win. Not like this. Jake grabbed his keys again, the need for answers overriding his shock. He drove to the restaurant, the midday sun casting harsh shadows across its brick facade. The hostess, a young woman with a nervous smile, recognized him instantly. "Back for something you forgot?" she asked, but her eyes flickered with unease. Jake leaned in, keeping his voice low. "Did Emily leave with anyone last night?" The hostess hesitated, then whispered, "She left with that guy, Ethan." They were laughing, like nothing happened. Jake's pulse spiked. He thanked her and returned to his car, his mind racing. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a conspiracy, and he was already behind. He needed help, someone who could cut through the lies. Mia, a college friend and paralegal with a knack for uncovering dirt, came to mind. She'd always been blunt, never one to sugarcoat. He dialed her number, his voice steady despite the storm inside him. "Mia, it's Jake. I need you to look into something. Emily's trying to ruin me." Mia's response was immediate, her tone sharp with concern. "Meet me in an hour. Bring everything you've got." As he hung up, Jake felt a spark of resolve. Emily thought she'd broken him, but she'd underestimated one thing. He wasn't going to run anymore. He was going to fight. Jake's car idled outside Mia's cramped office in downtown Seattle, the engine's low hum doing little to calm his racing pulse. He clutched a USB drive with screenshots of Emily's laptop files, bank statements, property records, and the divorce draft that aimed to gut his life. The anonymous text still burned in his mind. "Stop digging, Jake." He hadn't slept, his eyes gritty as he scanned the street for any sign he was being watched. Mia, his old college friend turned paralegal, had agreed to meet him immediately, her voice over the phone clipped with urgency. He stepped out, the USB drive heavy in his pocket, and pushed through the office door, the bell jingling sharply. Mia sat behind a cluttered desk, her laptop open, fingers already typing as Jake entered. "Show me what you found," she said, wasting no time. He handed her the drive, his hands unsteady, and watched as she plugged it in. Her eyes flicked across the screen, narrowing as she opened the files. "This isn't just a divorce play," she said after a tense minute. "It's a setup. These notes about asset transfer with Ethan's name, they're moving your money before you can fight back." Jake's stomach churned. He'd suspected a plan, but hearing it confirmed felt like a punch. "How do they even know my accounts?" he asked, his voice tight. Mia leaned back, her expression grim. "Someone close to you is feeding them information. This level of detail, bank logins, investment schedules, takes access." Jake's mind raced, cycling through names. Friends? Co-workers? He landed on his cousin Ryan, the one who'd always borrowed money, who asked too many questions about Jake's freelance gigs at family dinners. The thought made his chest tighten, but he pushed it aside as Mia kept talking. "Ethan's done this before," she said, pulling up a database on her screen. 3 years ago, he was linked to a case in Portland. A guy lost everything: house, savings, after his wife fell for Ethan's charm. The wife claimed abandonment. Ethan helped her siphon assets. Sound familiar? Jake nodded, his jaw clenched. Emily's public ultimatum at the restaurant wasn't just humiliation. It was a legal chess move to make him look like the one who walked away. Mia's phone pinged, and she glanced at it, her face hardening. "My contact just sent me something. Ethan's been emailing someone in your circle. I'm tracing the IP now, but it's local." Jake's blood ran cold. "Local?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Mia met his gaze. "Someone you see regularly. I need you to think, Jake. Who's been too curious about your life lately?" Before he could answer, his phone buzzed again, an unknown number, this time with a photo. It showed him entering Mia's office minutes ago, the timestamp fresh. His heart pounded. "They're watching me," he said, showing her the screen. Mia's eyes widened, but she stayed calm. "Forward it to me. This is evidence of harassment. We're building a case." Determined to find the traitor, Jake drove to a quiet coffee shop in Capitol Hill, one Emily had never liked. He needed space to think, away from the apartment that felt like a trap. Sipping black coffee, he scrolled through his texts with Ryan. A message from 2 weeks ago stood out. "Hey, how's that cabin doing? Worth a lot now, huh?" Jake had brushed it off as small talk, but now it felt like a probe. He cross-checked Ryan's social media, his fingers trembling as he typed. A photo from a tech conference 3 months ago showed Ryan shaking hands with Ethan, both smiling for the camera. Jake's coffee went cold in his hand. His cousin wasn't just involved. He was a key player. Mia called as Jake stared at the photo, her voice urgent. "I've got something. Ethan's been wiring small payments to an account linked to your cousin Ryan. They're careful, using shell companies, but the trail's there. Ryan's been giving him your financial details for months. Jake's anger surged, but he forced himself to stay focused. What do we do? He asked. Mia's tone was sharp. We need hard proof, something that ties them directly to the fraud. If Ryan's meeting Ethan or Emily soon, you might catch them slipping. Jake remembered the family barbecue in Bellevue tomorrow. Ryan would be there, probably acting like nothing was wrong. I'll go, Jake said. I'll watch him. The next day, Jake pulled into his aunt's Bellevue backyard, the smell of grilled burgers mingling with the tension in his gut. He forced a smile, shaking hands and dodging questions about Emily's absence. Ryan stood by the grill, joking with cousins, his phone resting on a picnic table. Jake lingered nearby, his heart racing as he waited for a chance. When Ryan stepped away to grab a drink, Jake glanced at the phone. The screen lit up with a text from Ethan. Emily says speed it up. Papers ready? Jake's pulse spiked. He snapped a photo of the message, his hands steady despite the adrenaline. The text thread was a goldmine. Dates, account numbers, even a mention of framing Jake as unstable. He slipped the phone back just as Ryan returned, oblivious. Jake left the barbecue early, his mind buzzing with the evidence in his pocket. He sent a photo to Mia, who responded instantly. This is it, Jake. We've got them. She explained that the text could prove conspiracy to commit fraud, enough to freeze any asset transfers. But as Jake drove home, another text from the unknown number hit his phone. You're in over your head. Fear crept in, but so did resolve. Emily, Ethan, and Ryan thought they'd cornered him, but Jake was done playing their game. He called Mia back. File whatever you need. I'm not stopping until they're exposed. The line crackled with her reply. Good, because this is bigger than you think. Jake's phone vibrated in his hand as he sped away from the Bellevue barbecue, the photo of Ryan's incriminating text to Ethan burning a hole in his pocket. The latest message from the unknown number, you're in over your head, sent a chill down his spine, but he shoved the fear aside. He forwarded the screenshot to Mia, his paralegal ally, and floored the gas toward her Seattle office. The city skyline loomed under a gray drizzle, matching the storm brewing inside him. He'd caught his cousin Ryan conspiring with Ethan to frame him, and Emily, his wife, was orchestrating it all. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a calculated heist, and Jake was done being the mark. Mia was waiting when he arrived, her office door ajar, the hum of a printer in the background. She waved him in, her laptop screen glowing with spreadsheets and email chains. This text is dynamite, she said, zooming in on the photo Jake sent. It links Ryan, Ethan, and Emily to a plan to falsify your financial instability. We can use this to block their asset grab. Jake leaned over her desk, his pulse racing. What's next? He asked. Mia's fingers flew across the keyboard. We file an emergency injunction to freeze your accounts today. But we need more, something that shows intent beyond text. She pulled up a new file, her voice dropping. I dug deeper into Ethan's past. He's been flagged in 2 other states for similar schemes, using partners to drain accounts before vanishing. Emily's not his first accomplice. Jake's stomach lurched. The idea that Emily, the woman he'd trusted for years, was a willing player in Ethan's game made his hands clench. How do we prove she's in on it? He asked. Mia handed him a printout of an email thread, sourced from a hacked account she'd accessed through a contact. It showed Emily corresponding with Ethan about finalizing the narrative before the restaurant scene. One line stood out. Make sure Jake looks like he abandoned me. The judge will eat it up. Jake's anger flared, but Mia held up a hand. We can't confront her yet. If she knows we're on to her, she'll destroy evidence. Jake nodded, forcing himself to stay strategic. Mia's phone buzzed with a new alert. She scanned it, her expression tightening. My contact found a meeting scheduled tomorrow. Ethan and Emily, a law firm downtown. They're likely finalizing the divorce papers. Jake's mind raced. Can we get in there? He asked. Mia shook her head. Too risky. But I've got an idea. I know a PI who can get us audio from their meeting. It's legal if we're protecting your assets. Jake agreed, his resolve hardening. He wasn't just fighting for his money. He was fighting for the lakeside cabin his father left him, the one place Emily couldn't touch. The next morning, Jake parked 2 blocks from the law firm, his car hidden behind a delivery van. He waited, nerves taut, as Mia's private investigator, a wiry man named Leo, texted updates. They're inside. I've got a mic in the lobby. Close enough. Jake gripped his steering wheel, every muscle tense. An hour later, Leo sent a file. Jake played the audio through his earbuds, his heart pounding. Emily's voice came through, calm and precise. Once the papers are filed, we transfer the funds to the offshore account. Ryan's ready to backdate the documents. Ethan's voice followed, smug. Jake won't see it coming. He's too soft. Jake's blood boiled, but the audio was gold, proof of their intent to defraud him. He forwarded the file to Mia, who called immediately. "This is enough to bury them," she said. "I'm drafting a motion to present this to a judge. But there's something else. The firm they're meeting at? It's tied to a bigger player, someone bankrolling Ethan's schemes. I'm still digging, but this goes higher than we thought." Jake's mind flashed to the anonymous texts. Someone bigger was watching, and they didn't want him poking around. "Who's behind it?" he asked. Mia hesitated. "I don't know yet, but Ryan's been getting payments from a corporate account. Not just Ethan. It's someone with deep pockets." Jake's thoughts turned to the upcoming family dinner his aunt was hosting that evening. Ryan would be there, likely unaware Jake had the audio. He decided to go, not to confront, but to observe. He arrived at the dinner, the chatter of relatives masking his tension. Ryan stood by the kitchen counter, sipping a beer, his phone tucked in his pocket. Jake kept his distance, engaging in small talk while watching for any sign of guilt. Halfway through, Ryan stepped outside to take a call. Jake followed, staying out of sight, and overheard Ryan whispering, "Ethan, the firm's pushing us to move faster. They're nervous." Jake's heart raced. The firm wasn't just a law office. It was a front for someone pulling strings. He texted Mia the update, his fingers shaking. She replied instantly, "Stay calm. We're close. Meet me tomorrow with everything." As Jake slipped back into the dinner, Ryan returned, his eyes scanning the room before landing on Jake. For a split second, Jake thought he saw suspicion, but Ryan just raised his beer in a mock toast. Jake forced a smile, his mind screaming with the weight of what he'd heard. The conspiracy was bigger than Emily and Ethan, and Ryan was just a cog. Someone else was out there, and they were closing in. Jake left the dinner early, the audio file and Ryan's overheard words fueling his determination. He wasn't just fighting for his assets anymore. He was unraveling a web that could destroy him if he didn't strike first. Jake's hands trembled as he parked outside Mia's Seattle office at dawn, the audio file from Ethan and Emily's law firm meeting burning in his phone. The overheard call at the family dinner, Ryan whispering about a firm pushing for speed, confirmed a larger player in the scheme to strip his assets. He'd barely slept, the anonymous texts warning him to stop now mixed with Ryan's casual toast at the dinner, a taunt that fueled his resolve. Mia met him at the door, her eyes sharp despite the early hour. "The audio's solid," she said, ushering him inside. "It proves intent to defraud. We're filing a motion today to block any transfers and subpoena their communications." Jake handed her his phone. The screen opened to Ryan's call transcript he'd typed out. "There's more," he said, voice low. Ryan mentioned a firm, someone bigger calling the shots. Mia's fingers paused on her laptop. "I traced the corporate account paying Ryan. It's a shell company, but it links to a venture capital group in Tacoma. They've got a history of shady deals, funding scams like Ethan's." Jake's pulse quickened. "Why me?" he asked. Mia leaned forward. "Your assets aren't huge, but the cabin's land is prime real estate. Someone wants it, and they're using Emily to get clean." The weight of the revelation hit Jake hard. His father's lakeside cabin, a modest retreat, was now a target in a game he hadn't known he was playing. Mia's plan was clear. Use the audio and Ryan's text to halt the divorce proceedings and expose the conspiracy. "We need one more piece," she said. "Proof the venture group is directly involved. I've got a contact who can access their server, but it's risky." Jake nodded, his jaw tight. "Do it. I'm done running." Mia sent a message to her contact, a hacker named Quinn, and told Jake to lay low until they had results. But staying still wasn't an option. Jake drove to the Tacoma waterfront, where the venture group's office sat in a sleek glass building. He didn't plan to go inside, just watch. From his car, he saw Ethan pull up in a black SUV, stepping out with a briefcase. Minutes later, a woman Jake didn't recognize joined him, her posture confident as she handed Ethan a flash drive. Jake snapped photos with his phone, his heart racing. Was she the one behind the texts? He sent the images to Mia, who replied instantly, "Stay back. That's Vanessa Holt, a fixer for the venture group. She's dangerous." Jake's phone buzzed again, an unknown number. Last chance to walk away. His anger flared, but he forwarded it to Mia. She called, her voice urgent. Quinn got into their server. There's a contract tying Vanessa to Ethan, with your cabin listed as a target for acquisition. They're planning to force a sale after the divorce. Jake's grip tightened on the wheel. The cabin wasn't just a memory. It was his last tie to his father, and they were trying to steal it. What do we do? He asked. Mia's tone was steely. We take this to a judge. The contract, audio, and texts are enough for a fraud case. But we need to move before they know we've got it. That afternoon, Jake met Mia at a courthouse in Seattle's First Hill. She prepared a motion to freeze his assets and file a countersuit against Emily, Ethan, and a venture group for conspiracy to commit fraud. As they waited for the clerk to process it, Jake's phone lit up with a call from Ryan. He hesitated, then answered, keeping his voice neutral. Hey man, Ryan said, his tone too casual. You okay after the barbecue? Heard you left early. Jake's blood boiled, but he played along. Yeah, just needed air. Ryan paused, then added, Emily's worried about you. Maybe talk to her? Jake hung up, his suspicion confirmed. Ryan was fishing, trying to gauge what he knew. Mia emerged from the clerk's office, motion filed. The judge will review it tomorrow, she said. Your accounts are safe for now, but Vanessa's group moves fast. We need to be ready for pushback. Jake's mind flashed to the photos of Vanessa and Ethan. He couldn't shake the feeling that the anonymous texts were her doing, a warning to scare him off. He drove home, checking his rearview mirror for tails, paranoia creeping in. At the apartment, he found a note slipped under the door. You can't win this. No signature, but the handwriting matched a note he'd seen in Emily's laptop files, Vanessa's. Jake texted Mia the note's photo, his resolve hardening. He wasn't just protecting his assets. He was exposing a network that preyed on trust. That night, he packed a bag and drove to the cabin, 2 hours outside Seattle. The quiet of the lake calmed his nerves, but he knew it was temporary. As he locked the cabin door, his phone pinged with a message from Quinn, Mia's hacker. Found emails between Vanessa and a city official. They're bribing someone to rezone your cabin's land for development. Jake's heart sank. The stakes were higher than he'd imagined. A city official meant corruption, not just personal betrayal. He called Mia, his voice steady despite the fear. We need to go public with this. The rezoning, the bribery, it's bigger than us. Mia agreed. I'll leak the emails to a reporter I trust. But Jake, once this breaks, there's no going back. They'll come for you. Jake stared at the lake, the cabin's walls holding memories of his father's laughter. Let them try, he said. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore. He was dismantling their entire operation, and he'd make sure they felt the consequences. Jake stood on the porch of his father's lakeside cabin, the early morning mist curling over the water as he gripped his phone. The leaked emails from Vanessa Holt's server exposing a bribery scheme to rezone his cabin's land had just hit a Seattle news outlet, thanks to Mia's reporter contact. His accounts were frozen by court order, safe from Emily, Ethan, and Ryan's fraud, but the anonymous threats hadn't stopped. The latest, received an hour ago, read, You'll regret this. Jake forwarded it to Mia, his nerves taut, but his focus razor sharp. He wasn't hiding anymore. He was ready to end this. Mia called as he stepped inside the cabin, her voice brisk. The story's live. The reporter named Vanessa, Ethan, and a city official tied to the rezoning deal. The judge is fast-tracking our fraud case based on the audio and texts. Jake's relief was tempered by caution. What about Emily? He asked. Mia paused. She's gone quiet, but her lawyer's trying to distance her from Ethan. It won't work. The emails tie her to the shell company. Jake set his jaw. Emily's betrayal stung, but the cabin, his last link to his father, was secure. He wouldn't let her take that too. A notification pinged. His lawyer had filed a countersuit against Emily, Ethan, Vanessa, and the venture group for conspiracy and attempted fraud. The evidence was airtight. Ryan's texts, the law firm audio, and the server emails. Jake drove back to Seattle, the 2-hour trip tense with anticipation. He met Mia at a diner near the courthouse, where she slid a tablet across the table. The city official, Councilman Barrett, just resigned, she said. The news is blowing up. Vanessa's group is scrambling. Jake scanned the article, his pulse quickening. Barrett had approved rezoning permits for the venture group, greased by payments funneled through Ethan. Jake's cabin was the linchpin in their development plan. As they spoke, Jake's phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. He hesitated, then answered on speaker. It was Emily, her voice strained, not cold like at the restaurant. Jake, we need to talk. I didn't know how deep this went. He cut her off, his tone icy. You set me up, Emily. The emails prove it. She stammered, then hung up. Mia shook her head. She's desperate. Her lawyer's dropping her. Too much heat. Jake felt no sympathy. Emily had chosen her role, and now she faced the fallout. By afternoon, Jake and Mia stood in the courthouse as the judge reviewed their motion. The audio of Ethan and Emily plotting, combined with the leaked emails, sealed their fate. The judge issued an injunction blocking any asset transfers and ordered a criminal investigation into Vanessa's venture group. Jake's accounts, including the cabin's deed, were fully protected. Mia whispered, "We did it, Jake. They're done." But Jake's eyes were on the courtroom door, where Ryan had just walked in, summoned as a witness. Their gazes locked, and Ryan looked away, his shoulders slumped. Jake felt no satisfaction, just a hollow ache for the cousin he'd once trusted like a brother. The next day, Jake learned Ethan had fled Seattle, but the police were tracking him through bank records tied to the shell company. Vanessa's group faced federal scrutiny for money laundering, their assets frozen. Ryan, caught in the crossfire, agreed to testify against Ethan to avoid charges. Jake didn't speak to him. He let the legal system handle it. Emily moved out of their apartment, leaving a note claiming she needed space. Jake tossed in the trash. He didn't need her explanations anymore. He returned to the cabin that weekend, the lake's calm surface reflecting his newfound clarity. His graphic design business was picking up, with new clients drawn to his resilience after the news broke. Friends he'd drifted from rallied around him, filling the void Emily left. As he locked the cabin door, his phone buzzed with a final message from Mia. "You're free, Jake." "What's next?" He typed back, "Rebuilding." Standing by the water, he thought of his father, who'd taught him to fight for what mattered. The cabin was his, and so was his future. Jake looked out at the horizon, the weight of betrayal lifting with each ripple on the lake. He'd turned the tables, not with anger, but with evidence and resolve. The conspirators, Emily, Ethan, Ryan, and Vanessa, faced justice, their scheme unraveled by the truth. Jake's story wasn't just about survival. It was about reclaiming his life. He opened his phone and typed a message to his followers online. "They tried to take everything, but I fought back. What would you do to protect what's yours?"